Welcome back. Today, I'd like to share a bit of a question that I've been working with a group of people about what to do when you're being yelled at work, where you're in a situation that finds you in a subordinate relationship with a person, and that person keeps poking the bear, so to speak. Well, if you're a bear, I suppose they're poking you, the bear, but keeps poking you. And what do you do with that? I'm sure we have all felt quite injured here and there by people nagging at us or criticizing us for this, that, or the other. Or maybe we try to do something and we believe in the quality to some extent. We believe, we have confidence, perhaps, that what we've done is up to snuff. And then this person comes and says, "What's this? What have you done? What are you thinking?" And ask those sort of prodding, naggy questions. And it can be so very uncomfortable. But there is a good thing to do in those moments. Well, not everyone is a monk, but we as disciples of the Buddha have a rule where we have to just take it, no matter what it is, no matter what the criticism is, whether it's true or false. We just take it. For the most part. I think there are certainly some monks, even myself at times, fail to just take it. But in hindsight, after those interactions with people, it's often the case, if we were to have an opportunity to do it again, perhaps saying nothing about what we feel or responding with stillness could have been the most productive way to encounter that situation. But that's not often what happens. Probably most people get poked a little bit here. Oh, what are you doing? Why are you doing it that way? And we say, "Grrr, this guy or this person, why are they always on my case?" Well, is it your case? Is it really your case? Is it really about you? That maybe, and only you can answer this. Maybe that person has it out for you. They're trying to sabotage you for some reason. What's the best way to take away their ability to sabotage you? Be still, perhaps. It's a classic example to imagine a child at school being bullied. If you don't react to the bully in a way, at first they get offended and their intensity can kind of go up, turn the volume up a bit. They're fishing for a reaction, I think. I could be wrong. But if you continue not to really react, not to entertain, not to give them anything from you in those moments, typically they get bored and they kind of stop. Tragic case may be that they go do it to someone else. Best case scenario, they just stop. Even better than that, perhaps they try to say something to get a reaction, and getting no reaction, they realize how silly they are. Fishing for a reaction for that. Trying to get a stimulation from the response from a person. Sometimes we can show them a better way, depending on the circumstances that we find ourselves in. In a workplace, perhaps, in a sort of confined, everyday, you have to be there environment, especially with an authority, a boss or a manager, or even someone who's just a little bit senior, who knows your job or thinks they know your job. You can't always cleverly fight back. Fighting back doesn't ever solve anything. Almost never. Next to never. The great Mahatma Gandhi, of course, addressing a very large problem in comparison to the interplay of two individuals, referred to the greatest power of change as satyagraha. If I remember correctly, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. It's soul force or spirit force. And something we can use, a sort of a weapon we can wield in an uncomfortable or very bad situation that comes from a place of compassion and patience. And in Zen, I might say that if you can perfect your stillness, practice the perfection of your stillness, then when you meet the poking comes and the body doesn't move. The body not moving, however, doesn't necessarily mean that when those painful words or phrases or naggy questions come, it doesn't mean we don't feel the emotional content that's sort of attached to those phenomena, those stimuli, that intersection of self and other. But that discomfort can teach us something if we pay honest attention to it. And by honest attention, I mean to begin to see it for what it actually is. And I'm not saying nullify it by being nihilistic. No. I don't mean to be nihilistic. I mean, if you are still enough, you will be able to understand what that interaction is rubbing against. Also, how big it actually is, or actually isn't. Most of the time, as we perceive our world, and I mean all of the interactions, good and bad, and neutral. We have those three categories, good, bad, and neutral. And based on what we like or dislike, our attention tends to magnify certain elements. Of course, neutral is almost nil. It's nothing most of the time. Forget it. We don't even have a memory of it. The leaves on the ground as you walked down the street. Did you pay attention to those? Do you remember how many? Do you remember what colors they were? I bet you don't. Case in point, the leaves on the ground are no more or no less important than the snake in your boots, so to speak. Phenomenologically speaking, the value is the same. If we stop viewing it from the gaming mind of picking and choosing, both are just as they are. And so, when we are being prodded by some difficult, it's not necessarily that person is difficult, a difficult interaction with another person, then we have an opportunity to notice, oh, I really hate this. So I'm magnifying this interaction. I'm going to gossip about it with my friends, or I need to vent about it to my partner. And we magnify it even more by sort of chewing on it, entertaining it again and again, over and over. But actually, just letting it be might find it's not so big after all. And this is also not to be confused with pushing down or suppressing an emotional reaction or the stress that's along with it. Feel the stress. Nothing wrong with that. Just don't move your body. Practice being still enough that you don't hold on to the stress. Anything held in an open hand is free to be, to come, or to go. And that means that when it goes, or when something else's time comes to arrive, it shuffles off. What's right in front of you, every day, 24 hours a day, is not all that bad most of the time. So if you pay closer attention to what's right in front of yourself, it's not so bad. Of course, the Buddha says that all life is suffering, and all life is suffering, and everybody can verify that. If you cross 40, you definitely understand this. In your 20s, I'm not sure I quite got it back then, but you can see it. Every day has an element of dissatisfactoriness, and that's okay. That's just what it is. In an open hand, it doesn't take up very much space. In a view that sees all things, or tries to see all things as they are, what we call stressful, is a popular term, or uncomfortable, turns out not to be so much of anything at all. And to say this sounds very easy. It's not. Practicing this is hell. But hell is a very good place to practice. Yes, indeed. So as you face the ogre in your daily life, picking on you, prodding at you, maybe take a look at that and still the body for just a moment. If you practice Zazen, sitting meditation, a little bit every day, like 1 minute's enough, more is better, but 1 minute's enough, then in those moments, you can borrow that practice. It's like flexing a muscle, to stop for just a moment and watch what's happening, what's in front of you, and also what's inside. And you have an opportunity, an option, really, a choice that you are free to make of how to react, to consider your reaction. Not just what you say in response, although that comes too, but also how you choose to react inside your own self. Because this reaction is the most pivotal one. How we regard what we're encountering in our daily lives begins here. And what we do with it in that regard, whether we go home and gossip about it or feed the ogre, the painful thought. If we feed it, it continues to grow. It becomes a bigger chunk of our vision, so to speak. Not necessarily just our visual vision. It's just a good metaphor. But if we don't feed it and we just let it be in an open hand, then it will pass away on its own. It will come again and again and again and again. And all those are opportunities for you to study you more. Isn't that a wonderful gift? It ain't easy, but you can do it. At the bottom, you'll find a link to a digital begging bowl, where if you feel so inclined or able to make an offering and support my life of practice and this body as a pure offering to the well-being of all living beings. The word gratitude falls terribly short. And yet, if you listen to this far, even if you can't share an offering, gratitude still falls short. So thank you for being here.